Hi everyone, welcome to our Youth Leader of September's Masterclass. I am Koisha Mukherjee, founder of The Leading Youth, which is a global youth leadership platform for students and young professionals where we are trying to upskill and empower young people through training programs in basics of leadership and management, mentorship schemes customized for study abroad applications, job applications, as well as masterclasses like these, where the whole purpose is to build a community of young people who can uplift each other, learn from each other, and get inspired by our youth leaders like Riddi, who has joined us today and is our youth leader of September, where we can all hopefully learn from her journey and get inspired to be a young leader in our own respective ways. So for this month, Riddi Viswanathan on the call today is our youth leader of September. And Riddi is an educationist, a fintech professional, as well as a young entrepreneur with a list of achievements to her name. And talking about her achievements, one of her key achievements, and also having known her personally as a very close friend of mine since Manchester, is the fact that I've always known Riddi as a young leader who stood out in anything that she has done as a student, as well as while pursuing her career in fintech as well as entrepreneurship. Riddi has been the first Indian international student to be elected as the leader of about 0.4 million international students in the UK. Riddi has also been invited as a speaker representing the voice of young people by the Houses of Parliament, UK, and the European Parliament in Brussels. She's also been interviewed by leading news report agencies like the BBC, the New York Times, the Guardian, and the list goes on. And this is all talking about her youth leadership and issues that she's impacted as a young Indian leader in the UK. She's also been the co-founder of an edtech startup that has been valued at $1 million. Now, that is a massive accomplishment for someone at such a young age to achieve a list of achievements to her name. And I'm definitely proud of Riddi as a friend, but most importantly, I think she's inspired me in many ways, and we are hoping that in today's session, we can dive into her career journey, academic journey, and take away many inspiring lessons through her experience. So Riddi, welcome to the Leading Youth's Masterclass. Over to you for a few welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Koisha, for inviting me and recognizing me as the youth leader of the month. This is extremely special to me because I've known about the Leading Youth since its inception, and to see progress over the last few months and tremendous progress, it's absolutely delightful. And I'm extremely proud of you for not just doing your bit, but also cultivating other leaders, because the core of leadership is all about giving back, and this initiative to give back to the community is truly welcome and truly appreciated. Yes, as you introduced me, just to add a few credentials to it, I am a graduate in business studies and economics from the University of Manchester. I've also finished a special qualification in philosophy and politics from the University of Oxford. With my professional qualifications, I am a fintech professional. I work with a neobank in the UK, and I also am the co-founder of Generation Purple, which is into career guidance for young adults. And now, very recently, I've started getting a hand at my family business. So that's a bit about me. And I'm looking forward to this session and supporting students, answering questions about youth leadership, education, employability, and entrepreneurship.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Riddi, for all those kind words. Definitely appreciate all the support at starting phases of the Leading Youth and dreaming big to make an impact globally with this. and especially through today's masterclass, which is extremely special because we are going to be diving into a bit more detail on how you started, where you started, when did you decide you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or when did you realize you had that spark in you to be a leader and guide so many students that you have had in your kind of student journey in Manchester and when you came to study abroad. So maybe just taking a few steps back and kind of starting with our first question there would be, tell us about, when you started in India and when you decided to move abroad, and what was that turning point maybe that made you realize that this is what my passion area is and this is what I want to pursue.
So, fortunately, I have been someone who has had clarity from the very beginning. So, I remember deciding at the age of probably 10 or 11 that I wanted to pursue my undergraduation in the UK. And the reason behind it was surely because most of the Indian leaders that we know of, whether it is Mahatma Gandhi or Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the political people that I read about have all been educated in the UK. And that was the main inspiration for me to say, okay, I am going to pursue my degree in the UK. And I think as I kind of progressed, I very clearly knew my likes and dislikes, and I pretty much knew I was not going to pursue science. So the option that was left to me was in the management and, the humanities side of it. And given that my family has a business background, I thought, this is a very generic degree. As easy as it gets, let me choose something generic and then specialize myself. And that actually worked in my favor, because today, if you see with the growth in technology and so on, the generic your degree is, and the soft skills, the way you are adaptable, that mostly counts in comparison to having a very, very technical expertise. So that has worked in my favor. And I think from then, from Manchester, things just organically came my way, whether be it being involved in the student politics, that just came my way because of my active involvement in the students' union, or be it, the startup that came through my networks in the education sector, which then eventually led me to the job in the fintech sector. So it just kind of flowed in one by one. So it was not really planned, but I think it's about capitalizing the right opportunities at the right time.
Yeah, and that's amazing. You definitely made the most of every opportunity that came your way, and however different it was, from student politics to getting into entrepreneurship, and then fintech, which is obviously quite an up-and-coming area and quite popular among young people as well. So I think you've been part of many diverse areas, which is the beauty of your journey, and that is what is most inspiring, because you didn't shy away from experimenting and exploring and seeing how that feels for you, and yet I think far than feeling shy or anything, you have also been able to shine through each of those areas and lead by example. And that is what makes you the youth leader of this month, because that is what is amazing about you and what you've managed to do. So Riddi, there you mentioned about skills and how that's important for young leaders. So tell us about why you think skills, and specifically soft skills, employable skills, and life skills are pertinent for today's young generation as per you?
Well, I believe today is a dynamic world. The way at which things are changing on an everyday basis, not just in the employability side of things, but our everyday usage of technology, to the way we bank, to the way we engage, has changed completely over the last 10 years. And in order to cope with this changing dynamic environment, I believe it's very important to upgrade oneself. And beyond a certain point, the academics and the technical degrees and even the experience becomes stagnant. So then what comes into picture are the soft skills. And sometimes I do not relate to the term soft skills, because these are the life skills. These are the most important skills. So today, what really appeals to me, and when I recruit candidates, when I hire people, these are the core skills that I look for. And one of them is communication. Good oral and return communication can win a business, a conversation, a world war, So I believe communication is the key. Apart from that, I also believe in today's world, there are hundreds of certification courses, and any CV that you see have so many certifications on them. But how does one actually apply them to that particular job that they go for? I think that's where most people, get into the top leadership positions, while some don't. So that adaptability is also a very key skill in any area of work that one chooses to do. And the last thing that I wanted to touch upon is self-confidence. Very often in business, in leadership, again, it's a skill that all of us navigate at one point. I am still navigating. Whenever one faces rejection, I think there's always a moment when you question that, am I in the right path? Is it going to work out? But I think reassuring yourself, going back to the past, giving yourself credit for the achievements in the past are the ones that can kind of really help you progress to the future. And I think believing in yourself, no matter what, is another skill I think is very important for leadership.
Absolutely. I think spot on with all the three skills that you label there: communication, adaptability, self-confidence. I truly believe like those are the basics of, building your career in any field for that matter, and to be a leader in your own way. I think this is as essential and core to the skill of youth leadership as it can get. But I would like to particularly pick up on your last point on self-confidence, because that's something that I have personally struggled with to build my confidence in whatever it is that I was doing in my journey. So what I would like to know is, were you always confident in the way you are right now, or was there a point where you realized that you need to work on it, or there were some experiences that shaped you and built your confidence after a certain stage of your life? What was the journey like for you in confidence?
I think my confidence journey is still somewhere like, an up and down graph. But I am still learning. I think all of us learn and it evolves over time. But with my confidence journey, I must say I was extremely underconfident when I was at school. I think my mom might agree, and she's joined us today. And I believe with even like grades as good as like 97, 98, I used to still think I wasn't good enough. I used to weep over, such good grades. But what eventually happened was I was put from a very sheltered environment to an environment in a boarding school on my own, where there was nobody really to console me or tell me that you are going to be okay. And I sometimes still believe that when one is put in an environment where they have to cope by themselves, that's when one realizes their entire strength and that confidence comes out. So when I went to my boarding school, I must say I had great friends, but nobody like my parents or family to say, okay, you can do it. And there are teachers who are very supportive, but again, they're not going to be there 24/7 to console you and say, you are going to be all right. So that's when, for me, self-confidence started improving to say, I have to do this no matter what. And I must say, Manchester has been the biggest support system for me in order to enhance my self-confidence, because confidence also comes with success. So my avenues of success started from Manchester, where the judgments that people had on me or whatever I did reduced, and I kept seeing results. So as a matter of results, you know that you are able to do it. And of course, when my startup during COVID, when it went through a dip, that was my lowest point of confidence, when nothing worked out in my favor. And I kept questioning my decision on taking that large step in terms of leaving a very stable job and getting into a startup. But I think when you do not just give up and stay persistent enough, no matter what, then the results do come to you. So I think in terms of the confidence journey, all of us do question ourselves, and I think it's all right too. Because I don't believe in overconfidence. It's always good to question ourselves, but at the same time, I think it's important to know our worth and be self-assured, which I am still, pursuing and navigating that path.
Amazing. And absolutely, like confidence is an ongoing journey. I don't think there's an end point destination to that, because every day is a new learning day, especially in the field of entrepreneurship, I think, or even as a student, probably if you're confused and trying to figure out your career choices and what other kind of higher education opportunities you can avail abroad. It's a journey of confidence there as well, because you are experimenting, you are taking a risk. There are big decisions to make in terms of financial investments and life transitions, etc. So it's an ongoing journey in any phase of our life, I think, and there's something to learn very powerfully, I think, from this process, because whether like you said about the failure of your startup in that particular phase, you realize that it tests you in many ways, but at the same time, it's also building some really important, skills and powerful transitions in you, which then absolutely makes the process worth it. Of course, in that time, we don't maybe appreciate how much we are being probably churned like gold in fire. But that's only a more sort of retrospective approach to how this has kind of impacted us in every up and down of our career or life trajectory, so to say. I think when you mentioned there about, Manchester playing a big role in your life and, how you owe your kind of gratitude to how much that has developed you as a person. So maybe, I have seen you firsthand and, doing incredible things when you and I came to study in Manchester in 2017 to pursuing my master's, and you went student council, and I was always seeing your face everywhere and kind of, taking up leadership opportunities and doing such inspiring things. But for the sake of our viewers, maybe tell us a bit about, what made you stand out of the crowd as an international student in the UK? Because being an international student in itself comes with an onslaught of challenges, right? It's not easy to make a mark in another country where you don't have your support system, where you don't know anyone, you're starting from scratch. What did you do to stand out of the crowd and make a mark for yourself?
So before I go into what I did, let me start with why I did things to stand out of the crowd. So I remember in my first year, I was applying for work experience opportunities in the UK to get a work experience. And I was the only business studies student who applied for a journalism position in the BBC. And to my surprise, I got selected. And I was questioning myself on how did I get selected? Because all of the other people who got selected were all from journalism backgrounds, masters, PhD. And that's when I learned from the interviewer that they selected me because I was different. I was not a part of the same batch. And I could bring in different perspectives from a business point of view, from a financial journalism point of view. And that didn't hit me hard because I was happy I got an internship. I worked, and then in my second year, I started applying for roles in finance, mainly investment banking and private equity. And I must have done about 50 to 60 applications, and you won't believe, probably 40 rejected me straight away. In those 20s, maybe I cleared some levels, and the last three, I went for interviews and I was rejected. And it kind of started bothering me on why did I not get selected. So I wrote to my interviewer asking what's wrong with me. I've meet all your qualifications. That's when they explained to me that you are no different than other people that we hire. So why should we hire you? That was a turning point for me, which made me realize that in order to be headhunted, I need to do something different. That is when I went back to my BBC example and gave myself the motivation to say I was selected there because I was different, and now I need to do something to be different. And that is the whole reason behind starting Generation Purple, because I said people like me who are from diverse backgrounds do not get into a typical finance investment banking job. So how can I get more people like me into the workforce? And when I started advocating for the cause of inclusion in workplaces, you could see so many heads turned. And in fact, I was at a panel with the chief of human resource at Bank of England. And I openly had the confidence to tell her that the recruitment systems were biased and not favorable for Asian women in finance. And that actually led to a major change in the way Bank of England started recruiting. So sometimes speaking up at those important forums and raising your voice can make a huge difference, and picking your niche where you believe you can create a difference will just make you stand out and also attract opportunities. And since then, I must say, touch wood, I've never had the never had the situation to apply for a job. I've started getting offers where I was headhunted by organizations. So I think carving your niche is absolutely important in any space.
That's fantastic. And kudos to you for, finding that courage and that point to actually challenge the interviewer and tell them that there's something wrong in the system. Because most people would generally shy away at that point and not bother because, usually when you get rejected and you're not getting through the job, it's kind of people feel shy, embarrassed, and don't want to go back and face that scenario or talk to the interviewer again. But it definitely takes a lot of courage to go up and speak up and stand up for what you believe in. And this is definitely so inspiring to know that you did that and brought about a change. And any change, however big or small, is the true impact of a young leader, which is the whole purpose of why we are here today, to understand where you got that courage from and kind of understanding what brought in that fire or spirit in you to fight for what you believe in, basically. So yeah, no, truly inspiring, and well done to you for doing that and helping probably so many others who might have followed in your footsteps, coming from diverse backgrounds. And I think that's the most important thing as an international student as well. When you are abroad, it's not a journey that you're living just for yourself. It's everything that you decide to do that sets an example for many other international students who want to study abroad, are thinking of studying abroad. And all these tips are really useful for that category of people who are dreaming and hoping to do something different and special in their life. So you already kind of touched upon the topic just now about how you didn't have to rely on job applications anymore, and instead you kind of switched to coming up with your own startup. So maybe tell us a bit about that journey, in the sense how you started and what was the turning point where you decided, this is it. I don't think I'm made for doing a full-time job, and I just want to become an entrepreneur and do my own thing. So what was that and phase, and how did you decide? And maybe also what age were you when you started with your own company at Generation Purple?
Okay. So I think the transition from academics to my student leadership was organic because of my involvement in the union. A few people had encouraged me to run for the position of the diversity officer, equivalent of a student union president. And I was, I think, lucky enough to, be elected and honored. But I think during the 2 years when I served at the Students' Union, I started advocating more and more for the cause of inclusion and diversity in recruitment. So I had made a huge number of networks, and at that time, one of my mentors encouraged me to say, now that you've done a lot of advocacy work around it and you have traction, now is the best time to launch something around it and start having some kind of revenue for yourself. And I think it was about 2019, when I was at the age of 22, I started my business. And while I started laying the foundations, I had some investment commitments and I just started. And unfortunately, at that time, COVID hit just when I left my job and I started. So that was a hugely challenging period for me, only because we had an idea and it was almost about to get implemented. And at that time, Generation Purple was an organization which was committed to ensuring that people from ethnic Asian backgrounds got into more traditional jobs like banking, investment, and law. That was the whole purpose of Generation Purple. But just as COVID hit, that was a huge step back for our startup as well as the recruitment industry, because there was hiring freeze. People who had jobs were being put on furlough and layoff. So that's where I said dynamic change is absolutely integral in leadership or any kind of career. So very quickly, within a span of 3 months, I had to pivot the business model, because I understood that during the period of COVID, a lot of people were unemployed, and they had no clarity in what they wanted to do further. And we at that time had developed a very rough framework on how could a particular candidate get clarity and perform in their area of interest. So very quickly, this tool was tweaked to be a career guidance tool to say, okay, so many people are unemployed, they do not have clarity. So let's start by helping them. And that's when slowly I started delivering career counseling workshops. Then it was formalized into a proper psychometric tools, and we've supported hundreds of students for free with this career guidance tool called the Career Igniter, which examines three main elements of an individual's personality. First, their interests. Number two, in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. And number three, their emotional quotient. Based on this, there is a report that comes about giving them career clarity, which is followed by a group counseling to help them interpret the report better. So that dynamic change helped us start. And I think once your intent is correct and once you know what you're doing, then opportunities start flowing. So as soon as we reach hundreds of students, then we started approaching businesses. And fortunately, one business that already was in this space were very interested in the product and they wanted to synergize with us. And then things kind of took off.
That's amazing. And doing that major comeback after COVID and pivoting a business is not something that comes easy. I'm sure it took a lot of toll on you mentally, as well as, especially when you're starting something new and you are hit by a major blow right at the start, it can get really tricky to handle such a difficult situation and still keep persevering and, working on it. So what exactly helped you persevere through that period, because you were starting new and you were new to the space yourself in terms of being a new founder, entrepreneur. You were young as well at 22. What exactly was going on in your head? Why did you decide to, persevere through that period instead of maybe giving up and trying something new? What exactly was going on in your head at that point?
To be very honest, I think I took a break and distanced myself from the situation for a couple of years, because as I started it, I pivoted this business model, but things were not working. And COVID, with people all around you, either, suffering or some people passing away, it is taking a toll on you mentally. So I think the best thing that I've learned is when things are not going your way is to take a step back and be an observer. And once we observe, then again, I go back to the times where I have overperformed or outperformed myself and draw my confidence from there to say, I have faced these situations. So there is a chance that I might be successful if I try a little harder. So having that self-confidence and perseverance and finding your inner strength, I feel really made a huge difference to me. And of course, for me, meditation, spirituality, some kind of healing that is helpful to make a comeback. And apart from that, I must also say having supportive networks around you is very important. So whether it is a mentor, a friend, your family, they play an integral role in helping you come back. But I think more than all the other outsiders helping you, it's about you helping yourself. And that is when you need to go into the details, the devil, and understand what went wrong instead of analyzing why did it go wrong. I think that is a major transition.
You've spoken like a true leader there, and I like the way you've used your past examples to kind of analyze your own strengths, and you've incorporated the lessons from the previous times to deal with the difficult low moment, and then come out victorious from that. This is the perfect case study of a young leader, and I'm loving the conversation we are having because it's hugely inspiring and powerful, and just so motivating as well, right? Because there are those kind of troughs in life where we do tend to lose motivation, we do tend to second doubt, and this all goes back to the start of our conversation today, where we were obviously talking about, self-confidence and adaptability being certain key skills in the journey of a young leader. And this incident that you just described to us is a true testament to how you had to deploy those skill sets in adaptability and grow your self-confidence and your belief in yourself, most importantly, to kind of strike through that period and, go through the business pivot and do something incredible in your own field. So yeah, just well done. And I'm definitely, as inspired as always, listening to the details of what you are sharing with us here today. So I know you already kind of touched upon the challenges and how you push through, which is incredible and part of any leader's journey for that matter, because you cannot really, say that you are a true leader until you face those testing times in life that have truly tested your skill sets as well, along with testing your career or business or whatever it is that you're engaged with. And that is when you can truly declare that this is what has shaped me as a person, professionally and personally, and made you what you are today. So, Riddi, tell us, what are your tips for prospective young leaders to identify their areas of interest that they can pursue as their passion or hobbies or work, whatever the situation might be? I know you do that through your career guidance tool already, but this is your chance to tell us what do you think would be your top tips for young people?
I think the top tip for any young person is to have some time for self-reflection and be absolutely clear in their goals. Without clarity, there is no success. So it is all right to take as long as one wants, provided there is clarity in the goal, there is focus. And again, for that, tools like the Career Igniter by Generation Purple would be helpful. But again, I know some people who would not need some kind of a tool like that. Most 80% of the people are well guided through psychometric tools and scientific methods, but 20 people just have that gut in them that tells them that this is their calling. So I think discovering one's calling is the most important aspect of leadership and to be successful in any field. And I always believe that once one starts pursuing their passion, success, money, fame happens to come. Because I've always been trying out ways that, I want a material goal or I want this. And as a byproduct of it, I am taking a certain action. And unfortunately, at least in my case, it's never worked out. So true intention and passion have what until now have, got me success. Before I think, just doing something for the end goal of just material might guarantee you maybe short-term success, but definitely not long-term. I think in terms of the tips, I would say is, again, apart from self-reflection, consistency is very important. Not giving up at the wrong times is very integral. I think repeating some tasks without getting bored is also very important. I've realized that recently. I mean, if in any position, if there are a certain number of tasks one needs to do and you have to do it every day, then unfortunately you will have to do it every day. And that consistency and repetition are absolutely integral. And apart from that, courage. And that's very important. As I told you, having the courage to pick yourself out of any dark hole is very integral to succeed in any field.
Absolutely. And whatever you've mentioned here are things that apply to any career and field and would be applicable for any young person tuning into this because these are life skills at the end of the day. And like we mentioned to it, I think at the start of the call, that we may be, thinking of these as soft skills because they're not technical skills that you can learn in a college degree, or this is not something that is taught to us very easily. They're not tangible. We can't really see it. And so we tend to kind of take this lightly sometimes without appreciating its true importance and value and impact that it has in each of our lives. So I think all that you mentioned here in terms of, self-reflection, consistency, courage, they're really skills that will stay with you throughout your life, whether in your academic journey, career journey, personal life. They are relevant in any sphere and phase of our life, which is the beauty of these skills. And this is something that obviously I'm quite passionate about as well. And we are trying to push through the Leading Youth as well, to train young people in how important these skill sets are and why it's important to be trained in them as well, so we can be better equipped in dealing with life's challenges, like you have done very successfully in your career. One thing that we probably did not touch upon is your recent journey in the fintech space, which I'm quite interested in. And you mentioned about, identifying your own calling and recognizing your passion and pursuing your passion that then follows wealth, fame, and all of that. So tell us about how you made that transition to the fintech world and how is that going? Because I know that you are also doing some fantastic work there in a managerial director level position as a young person for a fintech company in the UK. So how does that feel to be in a director level position in your 20s for a company? And how did you make that transition to the fintech world?
So my transition to the fintech world came to me as a surprise because I was more in the student recruitment space, and I at that time did some work for my client, which happened to be a leading Indian bank in the UK, where we were recruiting hundreds of students for them to promote their accounts across various campuses. And seeing my work, they had actually offered me a position in their company, which at that time I couldn't take up because I was running my startup and I didn't have staff or team to manage it. But later, casually, we just had a chat and we were just discussing about career goals, and which is when one of my bosses, he mentioned about starting this fintech company, and said he would be happy if I were involved in it, given that students and young people and financial literacy were key elements of that particular company. So, having given it a thought, I was always passionate about education, but financial education was also another field that interested me because there is a lot of vacuum in that space. Today, the most literate people sometimes do not know well how to manage their finances or how to be financially stable. And that was a space that interested me. So I've been involved in this fintech for the last 2 years, where I handle the entire sales and distribution for young people accounts. And currently, having moved back to India, I've also taken charge of the NRI channel. So entire India to UK or Europe, all the Indians that go, I handle the sales and distribution. And so far, it's been great. It's been a good learning curve. And that's given me those transferable skills of sales, marketing, distribution now that I can use in any business going forward. And I believe that learning is helping me so much in my family business now that I'm getting more involved in that space.
That's fantastic, and really great to hear, getting some work experience in a field that is currently booming and, like you said, has real world impact as well as relevance, because financial independence, financial literacy is really key to everything that we do in any career. Because if you don't know how to be wise enough with your money management, you're not really doing a good job at the end of the day, especially for young people who I know are more woke these days about being more aware, educated, and informed about financial incentives and where is it that they can invest and do different things. So I think this is definitely a very exciting space to be in, and kudos to you for handling it all so well while balancing your entrepreneurial ventures. And good luck with whatever the fintech journey brings ahead for you as well. I'm sure it's all going to be great. With that, maybe I'm going to head over to my last question, and that's also cue for participants who are on this call to be prepared for any questions that you might want to ask Riddi. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think of any questions while I ask my last question to Riddi, which is basically, Riddi, whatever we have discussed today and everything that you've shared about your journey, starting from academics to transitioning to, being an international student leader, and then your initiative with your startup, and then into the fintech zone, it all bears the testimony to the fact that you are leading the space as an example yourself. And so for all the young people who I'm sure would be charged up listening to everything that you've shared with us today, how would you motivate today's younger generation to stand up for what they believe in?
Wow, that's a very difficult question, because I'm not a motivational speaker or anything. But having said that, I think the best way to motivate oneself is to understand oneself. So it again kind of boils back to the fact that reflecting on one's strengths and weaknesses and capitalizing on one's strength is one of the key metrics to pursuing a successful career. Apart from that, today what I also feel is having a balance between your what you can offer and marketing yourself. I think those are again two very important facts, because when I hire a lot of people today, I see that some of the most well written or well crafted CVs probably do not make it to the job because the presentation that they give, or perhaps the way to apply their knowledge to the particular job, is somewhere there is a lack. So I think polishing those skills and making sure that whatever is said, you have excellence in it. I think that is very, very important. And I think finally, to motivate oneself, especially the young people of today, I think discipline. I think all of us, we all sometimes do lack discipline and procrastinate. At least I do procrastinate a lot. Not because, I'm scared of doing it or so on. That's because I normally prioritize all the smaller tasks that need to be done over that large, big chunk. So I think avoiding procrastination and acting fast is something that I tell myself as a young leader to say, how do I stay ahead of the curve?
Oh, that's fantastic and really inspiring, because, when you talk about discipline, and I know, having obviously been friends for so long, I think we both are very disciplined individuals, and we like to, have our schedule and follow our routine and, dedicate time for everything while balancing all of our personal life and professional life. But there are obviously not all the days are same, and we try to do our best each day. And I think that's the spirit of leadership at the end of the day. Giving your best no matter what the circumstance, and learning from even the troughs and challenges, even when you give your 100% and maybe you don't get your 100% outcome. At the end of the day, it's all about the lessons, the resilience and perseverance, and continue to doing our best no matter what comes our way. So yeah, thanks for sharing those really insightful tips, which I'm sure is going to be very helpful for those listening in. Okay, so it is time for opening up the floor to some questions. So this is your chance to ask Riddi any questions. So please do come in, put your hand up, drop a question on the chat, put your video on, whatever you prefer, and please do jump in.
So, Riddi, how was your hiring and firing experience?
Hiring and firing. So me hiring people, or you're asking about me being hired?
So you hiring people and then firing people also. How do you decide?
Unfortunately, or I don't know, I think it's more fortunate that my company has never followed the hire and fire culture. It's always been that all the employees who have moved on for better opportunities or personal circumstances. So fortunately, I've never had the chance to fire anybody, or but having said that, with hiring, I always prioritize three main qualities. One is I always look for a good attitude over aptitude. Second, I look for long-term commitment. And the third thing is I just look for honesty and sincerity. So my approach is that technical skills can always be trained. It's the person that I look for when I hire.
And has it also happened to you that after you had somebody, that person is not really working up to the mark, and then you are struggling to make that person come to the full-fledged capacity?
Yes, indeed. I think all of us face that. Fortunately, majority of my team are self-driven because I have had a chance to select individuals like that, and I've been fortunate for that. But there are some people who probably do not make it, do not utilize their full potential. And what I do is I lead the way by showing them the way. So just a couple of days ago, I sat with one of my staff and we had to go through line item by line item. I made them sit and make calls in front of me to the client and convert it. So sometimes I go down to the details and make them do it. So now that they know their own potential, and I'm hoping that will improve.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And also, just to add to that, in terms of hiring, I don't know if this is the right approach or not. Maybe it differs from field to field. Maybe in a more technical area, experience matters. But given that we are in a dynamic world where things are changing on a rapid basis, I value outcomes and attitude more than experience, because I've noticed a recent trend that in many areas I've been discriminated against because of my experience or age. But today, when people, we've had examples of 20-year-old billionaires and so on. So I think age should not be a factor, or experience should not be a factor for promotions or hiring.
Sure. What do you think about this social media platform, Instagram versus LinkedIn?
Instagram versus LinkedIn.
Yes. What should youngsters use and why? And how they can balance between them?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm guilty for saying this as a youngster. I personally prefer Instagram, and that's only because it's creative. But if you ask me which should I prefer, where I would like to see myself, I would say LinkedIn. And to be honest, I balance my time between both, because most of my work comes in, where business development is based on LinkedIn, where I get to interact. But I think Instagram is more of an entertainment channel for me, more than a professional development channel for me.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talking about biases against young people, though, that's a really interesting facet of the whole conversation around D&I, which tends to get left out quite often than not, in my own experience as well. Is that something you've personally ever experienced in any phase of your life, or do you know from all the young people that you've dealt with, people who are discriminated against because of their age and are not given the opportunities that they should be getting?
Yes, I must say that personally also I have been in a number of situations where I have been discriminated against because merely because of my age or experience. And I have had line managers tell me that you're an outcome-driven individual, like your work is fantastic, like we're very happy with what you've done, and we see you as a visionary. But having said that, people of these many years of experience, or people with this much knowledge, or this degree has particularly worked. So I do not agree with those comparisons. Probably me and somebody against me with 10-15 years of experience, we deliver the same outcomes, or sometimes one delivers more outcomes. So that should, I believe, as an inclusion advocate in employment, I believe age should not be a factor, or experience for that matter should not be a factor of recruitment, at least in the technology and the service space. Maybe if it's in a manufacturing space, maybe experience or the technical expertise is required. But in generic careers, I think importance needs to be given for results and the performance of the individual as opposed to the experience.
Absolutely, and completely agree because and I really wish that every employer thinks the way you think and the way you hire, because we need more employers like you who will give a fair chance to young people who are starting afresh and transitioning from academics to career and trying to look for their first job. We all know that unemployment scenario and the difficulty of finding jobs right now, wherever in the UK or in India, is quite tough and challenging for young people, and that's something that obviously we all receive a lot of queries about. So yeah, I think it definitely doesn't help when you come across job adverts that say that you need 5 or 10 years of work experience to start with this role. And the point is that I'm someone who's looking for my first job. So how do I show you that many years of experience? So definitely, I think that's also the kind of purpose of some part of the purpose of what we're trying to do here at the Leading Youth, is to help people feel confident and empowered with skills that can help them stand out as a leader in their resume, as well as a person to feel more confident in starting a new job without necessarily having that work experience as such. So yeah, that's really good to know. Like, we've had a really great discussion today, covering lots of different topics, questions, areas of interest for young people, starting right from life skills, as well as delving deep into your own journey, Riddi, from being a student to doing everything that you have done in different career areas. And I think that's the most fascinating aspect of your journey, because you have experimented, you have taken the risk, you've built the courage and confidence to pursue different career paths and trying figuring out what is it that you are most passionate about, what is it that resonates with your interests, and what is it that you want to lead the way by example. So as always, definitely really proud of you, and most importantly, just thank you so much for joining today and giving us your time and sharing all of these words of wisdom that you have. I'm definitely leaving the session feeling so inspired and motivated, and right as I'm transitioning myself in my career journey, starting as a new young founder, I'm drawing away so many great lessons from everything that you've shared today. And as a friend or as an entrepreneur, I'm going to be turning to you for many more such important tips and help to get me supported in my journey. And I hope that for everyone listening today as well, you found the session incredibly helpful, inspirational, and insightful for whatever it is that you're planning to do with your own respective career journeys, whether that's in the fintech space or entrepreneur, or even doing any other job that you're really passionate about. I think the key thing that we discussed is the fact that you have to be resilient, you have to have discipline, and you have to have the courage to pursue your dreams and continue on your path despite the challenges that you face. And always believe in yourself, because that is what is going to help you persevere and lead by example, like Riddi has as our Youth Leader of the Month. So thank you so much, Riddi, for joining us and for your time. And thank you everyone else for joining today and tuning into this conversation.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Koisha, for having me, and thanks to everyone for attending and sparing their time. And anytime, anywhere I can be of support, you can reach out to Koisha or me.
Thank you, Riddi. Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you very much.